This is Claire Willis from the Chicago-Kent College of Law Library, and I'm going to talk about an easy shortcut for legislative history research. What I'm starting with here is a legislative history research guide. I got to this from the library's homepage by going to Electronic Resources and then to Library Guides. And the research guide I'm in is Legislative History Research. This offers a lot of helpful hints about doing legislative history, but what I want to talk about is compiled legislative history. Compiled legislative histories are just what they sound like. All of the different documents in a legislative history, all of the committee reports, the debate transcript, the bills, the amendments, the public law, everything that might be there is all put together in one place. If you imagine a book on the shelf, it would be all the documents bound together. Now, even though we're doing this research online, we can still find the documents compiled there together, and it's a lot easier than trying to find them all separately. But the most important thing is figuring out whether or not there is a compiled legislative history for the law that you're researching and where to find it. So first of all, with the question of if there is a compiled legislative history, it never hurts to check. And you have to kind of think to yourself, am I possibly the first person who ever wanted a legislative history of the Americans with Disabilities Act? No, chances are it's something that somebody has looked for before, so you should try to piggyback off of their work. So this Sources of Documents tab here helps you find some of them. It talks about the GAO Legislative History collection on Westlaw. That also has the Arnold and Porter legislative histories, the law firm of Arnold and Porter. The one that I want to point out to you here is Hein Online's compiled legislative histories. Now, this includes this Sources of Compiled Legislative History database that lets you search for legislative histories. And here I have a title collection, so I could look by the title of the publication, the popular name, which as you'll remember from earlier videos would be something like Americans with Disabilities Act, Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, or by the public law number. So I am going to look for the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. That's Public Law number 95-213. So I could look it up within the 95th Congress. And I have an entire list there that does not seem nearly so easy as looking it up by the popular name. So I'll go to the letter F. I'm just going to do a Control F search here for there it is, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act of 1977, Public Law number 95-213. So this tells me that there is a 2-volume legislative history available here on Hein Online. This gives me a table of contents of Volume 1, and down there I'd be able to access the table of contents for Volume 2. So here we have the public law, a Senate hearing, a House hearing, a Senate report, all sorts of different things, all accessible here in PDF. So that's what's available on Hein Online. Going back to the Sources of Documents, the Law Librarian Society of District of Columbia, LLSDC, maintains 2 excellent lists for figuring out if there is a compiled legislative history for your law. There is a list of free sources of legislative history and also a list of commercial legislative histories. Commercials would be something like what we found on Hein Online there or on Lexis or Westlaw. Legislative history is where you have to have a subscription. So let me go into the list of free sources. Law Librarian Society of Washington, D.C., and this is by popular name again. So I'm just going to do that same Control F, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act of 1977. So we've got one from the Department of Justice. So the Department of Justice put together a legislative history, and should I go through this, I would find that this is some of the same material that's available from Hein Online. Going back to Sources of Documents, they have the list of commercial legislative histories. So these are the ones that are available online for subscription resources. Foreign corrupt. So here they actually don't have it listed, which is a shame. And I'm only pointing that out to you to let you know that these lists of legislative histories, while helpful, are not necessarily comprehensive. And if you really want a legislative history, it pays to check some large sources like Westlaw and like Hein Online. So that is the best possible shortcut for doing your legislative history research. Check for a compiled legislative history. My name is Claire Willis. I am with the Chicago-Kent College of Law Library. Thank you.